Greetings, Cleveland, and welcome to Creative Focus, the show that illuminates some of Cleveland's most talented and creative artists across the genres of dance, film, music, theater, and visual arts. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and I'm thrilled to have as my guest today on Creative Focus, award-winning filmmaker, Mr. Keith Collins II. Keith, welcome to Creative Focus, man. Let's chop it up.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
My pleasure. So, I was looking at your resume and it's so impressive. And I know you got that background in martial arts and you started when you were 3. Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, my father is a 5th degree black belt. He was a part of Cleveland international karate team known as the Flashers, headed by Kim Ferguson.
Okay.
And him and other people who are part of the Flashers team that are, my uncles, helped mold me and train me up. Ever since I could walk, my dad was like, all right, we're going to train him to kick. and he trained me ever since.
Something that I found really interesting, you talked about how the different types of martial arts has unique qualities. Expound on that a little bit.
When it comes to martial arts, there's hard systems and there's soft systems. And really what it is the softer systems are fluid, and the harder systems are direct. And each situation, in my mind, from learning so many different systems, I find all of them have their place and purpose in any moment of a fight, because a fight is more science than anything. It's the science of motion.
Okay.
And once you understand how somebody moves, then you can understand how to counter things and how to attack things and how to defend things. And really each martial art has something special that can be utilized.
Now, what are the types that you're proficient in, martial arts? Kempo,
Salat, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, and Krav Maga.
Wow, that's impressive. So that background in martial arts, that propelled you into being a fight choreographer and a stunt coordinator in film. Talk about that some.
Well, pretty much 2 filmmakers actually pulled me. One name was Jeremy Andrews, and the other was Johnny Woo.
Johnny Woo.
And I made I just would film fight scenes at the time. I filmed a couple of short films.
Okay.
They won awards, but I mean, when they're short, I'm talking about like 2-3 minutes, and they always had like a fight scene.
Okay.
And Johnny Woo saw one of those fights. And he said, hey, do you think you can do that for another film? I said, well, yeah. So I started becoming his fight choreographer and stunt coordinator for his films. And the same with Jeremy. It was the same thing. He saw a fight and was like, hey, do you think you can do that for mine? And I just sort of started that way, being a stunt coordinator and fight choreographer.
Okay, so do you use martial arts in most of your films and fight scenes in most of your films?
Generally, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I use martial arts, and because, I understand fighting, I know the range of certain fights. Like some fights call for martial arts and some fights call for street fighting. That's different.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And how did you get into filmmaking on your own, aside from the stunt coordinator?
It was something I always wanted to do. Like, I knew I wanted to make films when I was like maybe 13.
Wow.
And what it was, I mean, as a child, you're 9, 10, like most people say, well, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. And I said, I wanted to be a ninja. But, as you get older, you're like, well, how can I be a ninja? And it was just like movies. I can be a ninja in movies. And, my parents saw that I wanted to do movies, and they bought me a camera. And all throughout high school, I started making movies. Then through college, I was making movies. And it was just, that was sort of like the only way I could be a ninja. But over time, I grew to want to just be a filmmaker because I, have imagination. So
what was your first film project? You remember?
It was my very, very first film project. Actually, my first one was that I would consider my first was in college.
Okay.
And it was called La Attaché. And it was about a guy defending his soul in a briefcase from demons. And, you know, fights and, you know, everything else. But, and it was, you know, if I look at it now, I'll be like, ugh. But that was like my first real attempt at, you know, trying to, you know, make a film.
Was it a positive experience for you?
Yeah, it was positive. Like it definitely, you look at it and you're like, hey, I would like to grow. And that's what kept me making films.
Let's take a look at a trailer of one of your films, Rumble. Let's take a look.
No matter what I did the night before, I always make sure to stay in shape by getting up early, getting that work in. The day I don't get up is the day I lose. By the time I meet up with them, they already beat me. They're already ahead.
The concept was simple. One man versus the world. A $30 million prize.
Yes, I know he's in a lot of pain and I know it hurts, but we're almost there. We're almost there. That big.
Yeah, that girl is a little shaky, but Lord have mercy, have you seen her body?
All they would have to do is say this phrase.
It's time.
They take it to I'm here to fight.
It's time. Rumble.
I knew things would eventually kick up, but this dude, he just broke all the rules.
What do you think he wanted?
That man was trying to hurt me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Rumble TV.
It's time to rumble. It's time for you to rumble. There's the card. Let's go.
Welcome to a world where creativity knows no bounds. Welcome to Creative Focus. I'm Cornell Calhoun III, the host of Creative Focus, the show where we dive deep into the minds of the most talented artists, filmmakers, musicians, actors, and actresses. Join me as I sit down with some of the most inspiring creatives from the Cleveland area and beyond. Discover the journeys, the struggles, and the triumphs of those who bring art to life. This is Creative Focus, where every story matters. And make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification button so you never miss an episode of Creative Focus. So what specific skills would a stunt coordinator have in order to teach actors how to fight?
Well, one, safety is probably the most important thing.
Right.
So you want to make sure that everybody's safe. We have, you know, the proper equipment there for people to be safe. And then from there, training people on, you know, certain safety precautions, like, you know, how to fall.
I was getting ready to ask you that.
You know what I mean? If, you know, this particular stunt has a fall, let's make sure you have like certain padding, mats, things like that nature. And just getting everybody acclimated, you know, with that safety, including like if there's a weapon on set, like, hey, leave these alone, don't touch these, only these actors can touch them, things like that. Keeping that safety protocol up.
And let's talk about diversity in film. How do you see the place for Black films today?
Well, I think it depends on where what we're talking about. If we're talking about the indie world, I feel like independent film represents what we actually see, which is more diverse. Especially when it comes to, you know, our films, our people being in films. I feel like the more we go into Hollywood, the less, in a sense, diverse it is, or the more a structured way of what they feel that diversity is.
What motivates you, Keith, to create film? I had a conversation with an individual, and we were talking about, you know, life experiences and how that's how he creates his images and characters and films. What about you?
I usually create from the idea that, well, one, I have a vivid imagination. And I believe that as a Black filmmaker, most of us are put in a box. We're put in a box that we can only make a certain thing. And I would argue that we have an imagination like everybody else. And I believe that we should do even more storytelling about us having heroes that have superpowers and, fighting abilities and things of that nature. We all watched, Black Panther and loved it. That means we want to see that type of stuff. We want to see ourselves that way. And I am motivated to make that type of content.
What are some of the challenges that you faced as a filmmaker, would you say?
Probably, the filmmaking process is just a process, yes. And I think that the toughest part is, getting it moving. Like once you're filming, you're good. Once you're editing, you're good. But that pre-production, getting everything in place to get everything started is always tough. It's always tough.
And how do you overcome the pressures of that primarily?
You just sort of keep moving forward because you see the end. So you want to see that end. And you just push and push until you get to your ending.
And what do you think are some of the misconceptions about Black filmmakers, would you say?
That we're a monolith and we all make the same stuff. Like, I think that whoever is the most popular filmmaker, they feel like that's what we all make and that's what we all should make.
Talk about your awards, because you won several awards. In fact, you're going up to New York when?
November 9th, yeah.
Talk about that experience of winning that award in New York City, the first award you won up there. Well, you actually won two, right?
Yeah,
for
won two.
A feature and a short film.
Yeah, actually for Rumble TV and for Fall Hard, a short. Went to New York and found out I got nominated for, two awards, action comedy and urban action comedy. And for me, I was like, okay, I got nominated. We'll see if I win. And I went into the auditorium. I was like, I sat in the center, dang near at the top of this whole, auditorium. And, we're just waiting for them to call out the awards. And sure enough, they call out me as a winner for, my first award, which was for my feature film, Rumble TV. I was like, did they just call Rumble TV? And I look at the screen, it says winner. I'm like, oh. So I get up, I'm like, excuse me. Everybody's like, no, you won, get down there. So I get down there, go outside, do a red carpet interview, come back in and sit down maybe for another minute. And they called my other film, Fall Hard. And I was like, sorry guys, again, I gotta go back down there. And they're like, oh man, you won, get down there. And it was a humbling experience to win, in a place that's not your home. Like they saw something.
And in New York, that's a mecca of film, New York and California. Yeah. When you went out there, man, you've made it,
Yeah, they loved it. They genuinely liked it. So I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Okay, so let's take a look at Fall Hard. I've got the trailer. Let's take a look at Fall Hard by Keith Collins II.
So why can't we have guns?
The warehouse that they're in is in close proximity to a lot of businesses. The Dirty 30. Bishop and the Grimm brothers are going to be on the 4th floor in the office. Right outside there is probably going to be those guys that we always have problems with. Yeah, he hired them. Big Kenny's there too. Quick. And, Lou going to be working the door, so we should be able to get in pretty easy.
Boss, you want us to go help them out?
No, it's good. I pay them bitches good money to do what they do. They professional.
They all fall hard.
What's up?
Fabulous. So who are some of the filmmakers that inspire you? or do you have some?
I actually, it's sort of funny. They range, but I will probably say at the top of that list is John Carpenter. It's something about the way he tells his stories that I like his twists, what he's trying to say. And they're not all action. Like some of them are action, some of them aren't. You know what I mean? Like you got Big Trouble. He's the same person who made Big Trouble in Little China, but also made The Thing. And Halloween, and then his movies are all over the place. And I just sort of like how his storytelling is. And the second person would probably be Stephen Chow, Stephen Chow of Kung Fu Hustle. That's the movie that everybody knows him for.
Do you have a favorite action film?
Wow.
Or a couple of favorites?
Wow, there's a couple, but I'd probably rank number one is an Indonesian action film. And it's a series, actually. The Raid and The Raid 2. Those two movies, to me, are the pinnacle of, an action film. And they're action martial arts. They have drama. They're a little scary, and they're just action-packed. And then I'd probably say under that, the John Wick series was definitely a pinnacle of how action should be filmed in America. It was sort of like the first time I watched an American film and said, oh, they finally get it. You know what I mean? They finally get it.
Have you ever produced a film that didn't have fight scenes or martial arts?
One. It was a horror movie called Acquitted. And it was about a police officer who shot, two victims, wrongfully. Those victims come back to haunt him.
If you had a choice, Keith, would you prefer to make short films or features, or does it matter to you? It's just the content and the mood you're in.
Probably 5 years ago, I say features, but now I'm leaning more towards shorts because I feel like I have the freedom to distribute those type of films to the audience that really would want to watch them. Mm-hmm. Even though I have films on streaming services and stuff like that, I think those certain streaming services, especially when it comes to Black content, the people there expect a certain type of product, and my products aren't that.
Right. So what streaming services? You have your own streaming service too, right?
Yes, I do.
Thriller-Flix,
yes.
Talk a little bit about that. You're the first filmmaker that I've ever met that has their own streaming service.
Well, it sort of came about that the reason I wanted to make this streaming service was because of sort of what I said. I wanted to create a streaming service that was a home for people who had a imagination and they were looking for that audience to bring that. And, it's a streaming service for action, comedy, horror, and sci-fi. Mm-hmm. And, we're looking to, grab any, person of color who's like, hey, I had this superhero idea and I can't find a home for it. You know what I mean? And Tubi is doing all right, but I want to, I need a home for my movie, and I wanted to make that home. So we have filmmakers across the nation from, California, Tennessee, and New York that actually have their films on the streaming platform. And we're always looking for more filmmakers to join, the movement.
So do you have just regular drama or regular comedy on your streaming service, or you kind of primarily look at action films?
We look at action, comedy, horror, and sci-fi.
Okay.
So those are the ones we take. So we don't take any drama or anything like that, unless it's sci-fi. Okay. It has sci-fi in it.
Okay. What role does music play in the creation of your films? Because I know for me music is big. Some filmmakers, it's there but not. How important is it to you?
I think music is very important. Sound is very important. I feel like that is the driver of the film, the rhythm. It it can create certain emotions, you know, based on the music that's playing, or even heighten, you know, certain things with music playing. I feel like it's a driver to the film, not only emotionally, but in the pacing and rhythm of the film as well. I think it's very important.
What's some of the best advice that you've ever gotten from somebody in regard to filmmaking, would you say?
Just make the movie. I didn't understand that at first, because you're trying to wait for this perfect time. Well, I need this, or I need that. I need all these things. And once you get all those things and you start making movies, you start being like, you know, I could have just did this. Like, you can just move forward. So just do it. And especially where technology is now. Like, you can just do it with your cell phone, grab a couple lights, you know, make your movie.
How do you put your own impact on a film from your life experiences, but reach the broader audience? In other words, you have to realize the audience that's going to watch your film, but you still have that urge. You know, we all have those urges to, you know, incorporate what we have experienced or what we've seen or what we thought into a film. How do you navigate all that?
It's just a delicate balance of, you know, what you want to introduce to, you know, the masses as to what they want. So, you know, like, I knew when I was, say, making Rumble TV, our thing was, we wanted to make a Kung Fu movie for Black people. And we were like, well, how do we do that? And we just sat down, and this was 20 years in the making, like, me and the writer, like, we were talking about this, throwing this idea around, and we finally were like, reality shows. Like, our people love reality shows. So we started coming up with this concept of, like, okay, what if it's a reality show? That this is how these people, you know, end up fighting, and we came up with all the rules. Then we created a love triangle. I mean, it was just like all these things. And, you know, that's been probably the best reception. A lot of people love that movie, not realizing they're just watching a Kung Fu movie. But it's wrapped in something that they like. That's it, you know.
Let's take a look at another award-winning film by Keith Collins. We've got the trailer of Savior. Let's take a look.
Was a black gentleman brought in here a few hours ago claiming the world was going to end?
Yeah.
You should have listened.
So let me get this straight. Your name is X709.
Yes.
And you're from another dimension.
Yes.
One of our guys shot you, but the bullet bounced off you and hit the woman.
Yes.
You know that guy we got in custody?
Yeah.
Well, he says he's an alien. And I believe him.
They're unappreciative of the world they have. They hate each other simply based on how they look. They're primitive at best. Why does it matter to you? You are Zambian.
They're alive. Living beings with brains and feelings.
Are you willing to die for them?
I'm willing to fight for them.
Really?
Oh, I'm about to beat your...
So, I walk in, cocaine everywhere. Chickens, where'd she get chickens from?
Now that's interesting in film. Tell me what your dream film project is. If you could create anything, if you had all the resources, what would that dream project be for you, Keith?
It would be a futuristic cyberpunk martial arts comedy.
I should have known. Why that? Why?
I feel like there hasn't been a lot of depictions of Afro futurism. And I would love to tackle like what the future would look like for us.
Wow.
And just sort of mix in, you know, certain experiences and, you know, like just how would we use technology? How would it suit us in that, you know, futuristic flying cars, you know, half cyborg world?
So what's next for you? What are you working on?
Currently, I'm working on a vampire action short film called God's Hand. And
how far are you?
We're still in pre-production right now.
Okay.
It's gonna be probably about a 20-minute film.
Okay.
And one of the things that I would like to do in that one was sort of what I got to do with Savior. That is sort of push, you know, visual effects and wire work and really like push up, you know, those action qualities.
Do you have a location already?
And that's what we've been searching for our location, because we're really looking for a home that has that what is that, sitcom quality. Sitcom quality.
All right. Well, hey, you know, thanks for hanging out with me on the show. Keep me posted about New York. I know you're gonna win. I know you're gonna win. I know you're gonna be successful.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So that's it, Cleveland. We're out. But remember, a true artist is not only inspired, but inspires others. I'm Cornell Calhoun III for TV20 and Creative Focus. Until the next time becomes our time, be well, be safe.